Every level of NFL trades explained. These are the worst trades ever, and so obviously we're going to start with Deshaun Watson. Osama bin Watson is the worst trade of all time. The Cleveland Browns in 2022 decided to trade for Deshaun Watson, thinking he was the perfect fit for their team, despite his many, and I mean many, allegations. They traded 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and 2 fourth-round picks, and then handed Watson a fully guaranteed $230 million contract. The worst QB overnight, and the Browns have since struggled to recover. The Herschel Walker trade isn't very far behind either. The Minnesota Vikings are masters of having decent teams, only to never get over the hump. In the 80s, it was no different. The Vikings made this trade thinking they found their missing piece for a Super Bowl run. What they got instead was watching Dallas use their picks to build a championship roster. The trade was so lopsided that fans spent more time watching the Cowboys win Super Bowls than their own team. Then you have the Russell Wilson trade. The Broncos infamously gave up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, plus Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, and Drew Lock for Wilson, then would promptly release him after 2 seasons. Broncos country hated Wilson immediately, teammates started clashing, fights started breaking out, and then their coach was fired, all in the first year. The Jeff George trade rounds out this franchise-altering tier. The Atlanta Falcons are the definition of a franchise that does just enough to avoid being completely forgotten, but never enough to build sustained success. The Falcons were so misguided with their trading for Jeff George, they gave up the pick that would become Marvin Harrison, making them not just a football disaster, but a laughingstock of draft management. These trades share all the same common traits: complete disconnection from team building, inability to understand value, and terrible asset management. Next up in level 2, they're still bad trades, they're just not as bad. These trades are still awful, just not historically awful. In 2020, the Seahawks gave up 2 first-round picks for a box safety and Jamal Adams. They had no clue what to do with him. They would blitz him, which he was actually good at for 1 season, then they would stop. Then he'd always be injured or just not good enough to be on the field. It looked more like a desperation move than smart team building. The 2023 Aaron Rodgers Jets have to be on this list as well. The Jets thought they were getting at least Pro Bowl level Aaron Rodgers for a first and second round pick. Instead, he popped his Achilles within the first drive of his tenure, and it was only downhill from there. Then you have the 2013 Indianapolis Colts with Trent Richardson. The Colts infamously gave up the 2014 first-round pick for Richardson, who then averaged a horrific 3.1 yards per carry in 29 games. The trade was so overwhelming in its failure that Richardson disappeared into irrelevance. Level 3 are just bad trades, not nearly as bad as these. In 2016, the Minnesota Vikings traded for Sam Bradford with the first-round pick. Based on the desperate circumstances after Teddy Bridgewater's gruesome knee injury, it made sense, it just didn't work out. The Vikings Sam Bradford trade is completely functional desperation that gets the job done without making any long-term sense. But it didn't hurt the chances of a championship roster, because next year, in 2017, they made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. The 2022 Indianapolis Colts Carson Wentz trade is here as well. It's still in this bad category because even though they managed to get something back for their mistake, executives literally said they would prefer anyone over Wentz in trade discussions. The Colts had such a toxic relationship with Wentz that even their decent return felt underwhelming compared to the drama they received. Then you have the 2019 Arizona Cardinals with Josh Rosen. The Dolphins traded a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick for Rosen after the 2019 season. Poor team management, but what do you expect from the Dolphins? Then in 2019, the Patriots traded for Mohamed Sanu with a second-round pick. But this trade never made any sense, and it didn't work out. But at level 4, we actually have some very solid trades. Level 4, we have some good trades here, so let's start with the 1987 Indianapolis Colts with Eric Dickerson. This massive 10-player trade had been the foundation of the Colts' relevance for years, an incredible achievement that shows organizational boldness in pursuing elite talent that most franchises can only dream of. Sure, it didn't last forever with his injuries, but getting this level of immediate impact and leading the team to their first playoff appearance since 1977 shows incredible trade execution. The 2018 trade with Amari Cooper is here as well. The Cowboys-Cooper trade rarely bottomed out in terms of production. He was always in the conversation of top 15 or even top 10 wide receiver talks. They tried to capitalize on a championship window, and though that didn't work out, it wasn't because of Amari Cooper. Same goes with 2013 and Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer was traded after his tenuous tenure with the Raiders to Arizona Cardinals. With him, Bruce Arians, and Larry Fitz, they made it all the way to the NFC Championship game in 2015. They never were able to get over the hump, but this was a very, very good trade. The same goes for the 2017 Jimmy Garoppolo trade with the 49ers. They went from a 1-10 team to winning their final 5 games, showing an immediate impact, all for a second round pick. Then, they made it all the way to the Super Bowl in 2019 and multiple NFC championship runs with Jimmy G at the helm. In level 5, we start to get to the great territory. These are some absolutely great trades, a step above the rest. And in 2020, this is the perfect trade to start off with. Stefon Diggs was traded to the Bills for a first round pick, a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick, and a 2021 4th. It seemed like an absolute haul for Minnesota, and though they would get Justin Jefferson, we're going to be talking about the Stefon Diggs side. The Bills' ability to pair Diggs with Josh Allen's development shows their trade excellence created sustainable championship contention. Even when they would face the Chiefs, this trade consistently generated excitement and represented elite-level offensive identity that fans never were tired of seeing until the end. Then in 2010, Marshawn Lynch was traded from the Bills to the Seattle Seahawks. For just a 4th round and a 5th round pick, this was an absolute steal for the Seahawks, turning from a middling franchise into one of the elites very quickly. The 2018 Chicago Bears Khalil Mack trade was close to legendary status if it could be sustained for longer, but it has to be here at great. They gave up 2 first-round picks, a 3rd round pick, and a 6th round pick as well. Mack lived up every bit to the contract extension he got as well, even if it did end in a double doink after that first season. The 2022 San Francisco 49ers Christian McCaffrey mid-season trade has to be here too. He's broken many franchise records and NFL records along the way of making it to the Super Bowl in 2023. Though they weren't able to get over the hump, this has been an absolutely great trade in hindsight. Next up, we have the absolutely legendary trades. These are some of the best trades you have ever seen. And in 2007, for a 4th round pick, the New England Patriots got Randy Moss, a Hall of Fame wide receiver who was on the outskirts with the Raiders, much like Carson Palmer, but came back and showed everyone why he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. Moss in 2007 went on to have the best season of his career with 98 receptions, 1,493 yards, and 23 touchdowns, an NFL record. The 2021 Detroit Lions Matthew Stafford trade has to be here as well. Stafford immediately won the Super Bowl, and he's been a dominant QB ever since. This also goes on the legendary side for Detroit as well, getting players like Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jameson Williams, all from this trade as well. This is one of those classic win-wins. The Pittsburgh Steelers from Jerome Bettis trade has to be here for a reason. With their dominant ground tradition and consistent success over his career, they built one of the most intimidating and recognizable rushing attacks in all of professional sports for just a 2nd round pick and a 4th rounder. The 2022 Philadelphia Eagles with A.J. Brown have to be here as well. They've made 2 Super Bowl runs, winning one of them ever since they traded a 1st round pick for A.J. Brown. The 2011 Carolina Panthers for Greg Olsen is the gold standard of value acquisition. With their incredible run getting a Pro Bowl tight end for just a 3rd round pick from Chicago, and a culture of smart asset management, the Panthers built something special in their passing attack, and Greg Olsen would break record after record for the Panthers. These are all all-time great trades. They're just not the best trades ever, which is what we have next. These are the best. There are 5. Marshall Faulk, Ted Hendricks, Steve Young, Steve Largent, and Brett Favre. In 1991, the Atlanta Falcons traded Brett Favre to the Green Bay Packers for a 2nd round pick, turning what was a gunslinging QB with potential into a Hall of Fame quarterback with the Green Bay Packers. Favre would break record after record, winning 3 straight MVPs, going to 2 Super Bowls and winning one of them, and then becoming a first ballot Hall of Famer. The Indianapolis Colts would trade Marshall Faulk in 1999 to the St. Louis Rams, helping what will become the greatest show on turf with Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Kurt Warner, and him at the helm. Going to 2 Super Bowls, winning one, winning an MVP, and an Offensive Player of the Year, all in that same period, was absolutely astounding. In 1975, the Oakland Raiders would trade 2 first-round picks for Ted Hendricks, who was already an all-pro linebacker with the Packers, but he would become a first-ballot Hall of Famer after. The Raiders would win 2 Super Bowls in multiple eras, with Ted Hendricks creating one of the most intimidating defensive looks in NFL history, with the Mad Stork blocking kicks and making plays. In 1976, Steve Largent trade was the gold standard of NFL trade mastery. With Houston trading away the future Hall of Famer for an 8th round pick, the Oilers thought Largent would never amount to anything, while Seattle got one of the greatest receivers in NFL history. By the time he retired, Steve Largent was the leader in all-time receptions, yards, touchdowns, and anything else you could name. In 1987, the 49ers would trade for Steve Young, and after sitting behind Joe Montana for a few years, he would go on to win a Super Bowl and multiple MVP awards after Tampa Bay gave up on him. They built one of the most valuable and recognizable QB combinations in all of sports, while Young became a first ballot Hall of Famer. And so there you have it. Those are the 7 levels of NFL trades. Thanks for watching.